Hello artists, this is your introduction to perspective. Perspective is how an artist creates the illusion of a three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional surface. Today we are going to draw with perspective, but before we do, I want you to look at this illustration and think about what the artist has done to create perspective. Why is it that this crocodile looks further away from us than this crocodile? We'll get back to this drawing in a moment. Let's go over the four elements of perspective. They are size, overlapping, placement, and fading. Size. When you have two objects drawn on a page, the smaller one looks further away. Overlapping. When you draw two objects, the one that appears behind the other looks farther away. Placement. On a sheet of paper, the object drawn higher looks farther away. And finally, fading. Objects in the distance will look fainter and appear to have less detail. For example, if these are shaded in, these back ones would just have a little less detail to them. Going back to this illustration, can you see where the artist used size, overlapping, placement, and fading to create a picture with perspective? If you can, you are ready to draw. Today we will be drawing fruits in space. Hold on, I meant to say fruits in space. You will have a sheet of black paper and a set of chalk pastels. Pick a fruit, keep it simple, and use the four elements, size, overlapping, placement, and fading, to create a picture with perspective. So I will draw some apples, one behind that one, maybe some smaller ones way up here. And start coloring them in. Let's see, I want this one to look a little fainter. I want this one to look a little brighter. Chalk pastels can be messy, but they are a lot of fun to draw with. When you create your picture, I want you to stick with one kind of fruit so you don't get confused between a huge watermelon and a tiny grape. Now thinking about detail, this apple is closest to us, so I'm going to give its leaf more detail. I'm going to draw some veins on that leaf, and maybe a touch more shading to the stem. Maybe I'll also use a lighter color to add a nice highlight to my apple, and a darker color to create some shadows. These apples will have slightly less in detail. I want to improve my sense of overlap here, so I'm going to make the one behind just slightly darker, like it's covered in a shadow. Make the one in the foreground slightly lighter. Have fun mixing your colors and even experiment to get some interesting blends. I've mixed red and pink there. I can add some purples for shadows. Some yellows for highlights. Let's see, brown for my stem. And of course, this apple is closest to us, so I'm going to add some texture to the stem. Maybe a little bit of shading where the stem connects to the apple. And its leaf will get more detail than even this leaf. So whereas that one is just green, this one will get green with a bit of yellow blended in for roundness. And I think the veins I draw will be a lot more intricate. If you smudge, don't worry, you can do it, whoop, I made that worse, but you can generally, with a clean finger, clean up some of your smudges. And when you blow the extra chalk away, be careful you don't spit on your drawing. I've only got one overlapping. I think I'd like to add one more overlapping apple. Or overlapped apple. When you have all the fruit you want in your composition, you can pick a nice bright color and start adding some stars. As you approach the end of your drawing, look back to the 4 elements of perspective and make sure you have an example of size, overlapping, placement, and fading. If you do, you can sign your work and call it done. I hope you have fun with this project, and remember, you don't have to draw apples in space. You can draw pears in space or watermelons in space. And if you don't feel like going to space, you can draw fruits at sea.